Welcome to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're focusing on the Maasai people.
Yeah, and specifically the really, really tough situation they're in with this prolonged drought. It's quite severe.
Right. We've looked at this detailed article, and it really lays out the hardships, but also, importantly, their resilience.
Absolutely. There's a strong sense of community effort coming through as well.
Exactly. So for you listening, if you want to quickly get a handle on just how serious this is and the human side of it all,
Huh?
this deep dive should cover that. We'll look at the struggle, but also these inspiring local efforts.
And maybe how even, small actions can actually make a real difference here.
That's a key point.
Huh.
So let's get into it. Where does the story really begin, according to the source?
Well, the timeline is pretty stark. The article traces the faltering rains all the way back to 2014.
2014. So this has been building for a long time.
A very long time. And it escalated, getting really bad by 2019. They actually call it the drought of the burning sun.
Wow. And 5 failed rainy seasons in a row.
Yeah, 5. The article calls it the worst drought in over a century.
A century. That really frames the scale of this crisis, doesn't it?
It really does.
And for the Maasai, I mean, their whole lives revolve around their livestock. The impact must be just
Yeah,
unimaginable.
completely catastrophic. The numbers are staggering. Over 3 million animals lost across Kenya and Tanzania,
3 million.
which is like 90% of their herds gone.
90%. And it's crucial, isn't it, to understand this isn't just about losing food or income.
Exactly. For the Maasai, cattle are so much more. The article talks about it being tied to their cultural identity, their honor, their heritage.
Called it a cultural anchor, which I thought was a powerful phrase.
It is. And it describes families who once had hundreds of animals, now just standing on cracked earth, surrounded by silence.
Yeah, that imagery really sticks with you.
It does. And this drought, it's hitting on top of other existing problems, right?
Right. The article points out really low access to basic things. Healthcare, only 5% access,
5%.
and literacy rates around 19%.
So you add this devastating drought onto those underlying vulnerabilities. It just creates this really difficult situation, a cycle that's hard to break.
Yeah, a systemic erosion, really.
Yeah.
The article brings this down to a human level, too, introducing Elder Ole Nakau. Big.
Ah, yes. Big. A 96-year-old former warrior. Seems so much.
Imagine facing lions in his youth, now facing this relentless drought.
And his personal story is heartbreaking, losing all 200 of his cows.
All of them.
Every single one.
Ah.
In just 4 years. Starvation, disease, the lack of water.
And it wasn't just the animals, tragically. The article mentions the community losing children, too.
Yes, due to starvation. It's just devastating on every level.
It really is. And then there's the issue of aid, or the lack of it, specifically for the Maasai in this context.
Yeah, that's a really concerning point the article raises. It contrasts the significant money raised for elephants during COVID.
Over $14 million, it said.
Right. And then you look at the Maasai facing this historic, life-threatening drought, and the initial support was minimal in comparison.
Especially when you consider the billions raised for the wider Horn of Africa region.
Exactly. Billions for Somalia and the Horn. But the article states the Maasai received, quote, nothing from those major efforts, despite relying on this NGO safety net for decades.
Nothing. That's quite a statement. It feels like being completely overlooked.
It does. And it leads into this story about a specific promise, doesn't it?
Yeah, the visit from Dr. Jill Biden and USAID Director Samantha Power in February 2023.
Right, a high-profile visit. They met with Maasai women, heard their stories.
And pledged $150 million in aid, a public commitment. That must have felt like a lifeline.
Absolutely, a moment of real hope.
But then, what happened?
Well, just 4 months later, according to the article, that entire amount was redirected, sent to Somalia and Ethiopia instead.
The whole amount, so the Maasai communities got.
Not a single shilling, as the article puts it.
Wow. The feeling must have been awful. The article uses the phrase, seen but not helped.
Yeah, imagine that disappointment. That sense of abandonment, really.
But, sometimes it's that kind of adversity, that feeling of being let down, that sparks something new.
Exactly. And that's what happened here, this broken promise, this marginalization. It directly led to the creation of the Maasai Trust.
So Maasai Trust. Okay, tell us about that.
Well, what's striking is how fast it came together, just 60 days.
60 days. That's incredibly quick.
It really is. It shows real determination. It was driven by, the community elders, local church leaders.
And some key individuals are mentioned?
Yes, Pastor Daniel, Dr. Ron Clark, who the Maasai respectfully call Olamanyak.
Oh, maniac.
Yeah, it signifies his connection and service there. Also, Bishop Dr. Mark Kariuki and advocate Sarah Chedge, and crucially, an anonymous donor provided vital early support.
So a real grassroots Maasai-led initiative focused on local leadership and accountability.
Precisely. Taking control, ensuring aid actually reaches the people who need it: food, water, healthcare, education.
And their first action was aimed at helping Elder Olinako's village, Big's village.
Yes, Natatek. They brought in 6 metric tons of food and 30,000 liters of water.
That must have been an incredible moment.
The article describes Big's reaction. It says, Big wept. His prayer had been answered.
Oh, wow. That's powerful. It shows the immediate, tangible impact of just getting basic necessities to people.
Absolutely. And that initial relief effort then grew, right, into something bigger.
Yeah, it evolved into the Maasai Relief and Recovery Initiative, the MRRI.
Okay, the MRI.
Huh.
How does that work on the ground?
Well, they set up a pretty smart system. A central hub at the Namiak Deliverance Church acts as the main distribution point, the first POD.
POD, point of distribution.
Exactly. And then they've created sub-PODs branching out from there to reach the more remote communities.
Makes sense, getting aid out further.
Yeah.
And what about the water crisis? That's still the fundamental issue.
Right. And their solution for that is really interesting, the white acacia tree well.
The white acacia tree well.
Like it's a central borehole, a deep well, designed to supply water to elevated tanks, 20,000-liter tanks at each of these sub-PODs.
Wow, so one well feeds a network of tanks.
Yeah. The potential impact is huge. This single well could provide water access for over 15,000 people eventually through the network.
15,000 people, that's transformative.
And what I found really telling is they've also planned separate water troughs for livestock and wildlife.
That's important. It shows that deep connection to their environment, their ecosystem, even in crisis. Oh, existence.
Definitely. It's a very holistic approach.
Yeah.
And it's not just water, is it? They're tackling healthcare too.
Right, the mobile healthcare strategy. Medics on motorcycles.
Yeah. Visiting a different sub-POD each day, Monday to Friday.
Carrying medicine, equipment.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly efficient.
It does. The article points out they can serve up to 15,000 people with just 2 medics circulating like that, restocking on Saturdays.
Just 2 medics reaching that many people. That's impressive logistics, and they're looking beyond immediate needs, too.
Yes, absolutely. Future plans include establishing a school and educational programs through the church, directly tackling that low literacy rate we mentioned earlier.
So water, food, health, education. It's a comprehensive recovery plan, really, built from the ground up.
Exactly. And it all kind of circles back to Elder Olenaki, doesn't it? Big.
Yeah. Now 99 years old. The article calls him a symbol of survival.
And his message, it's simple but speaks volumes. Tell him. They gave us back our hope.
Hope. That really sums up the impact of this kind of direct community-led support, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And this is where it becomes really relevant for you listening. The challenges are enormous, clearly.
Immense.
But the resilience, the local action through the Maasai Trust, it's truly inspiring.
And the article really drives home that point. Small can be better than nothing. Even modest support makes a real, tangible difference.
It specifically mentions things like sponsoring a goat, helping drill a well, sending a child to school through the trust.
Every bit counts. It directly fuels these efforts on the ground.
Yeah. And that white acacia tree well project we talked about, it's a concrete example, right?
Absolutely. It's set to bring clean water to over 800 families right away and eventually support that whole network of 15,000 people.
Water, but also enabling the distribution of food, healthcare, education.
It's like a foundation, isn't it? A foundation for sustainable change, as the article puts it.
It really is. And this is where you, listening, can actually step in. You can be part of this.
Yeah, the article frames it as an opportunity to be part of the next miracle.
Please do consider supporting the white acacia tree well, or even becoming a monthly donor.
Helping them build that well of hope across all Maasai lands as they envision it.
Your contribution, however small you think it might be, it genuinely brings hope. It saves lives. That's the message coming through loud and clear. Small is definitely better than nothing here.
Absolutely. And if you feel moved to help, the place to go is www.themaasaitrust.org.
That's www.themaasaitrust.org. You can find information there and contribute directly to these efforts.
Every little bit helps build that resilience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought to leave you with.
Hi.
We see the Maasai facing this immense climate crisis, facing broken promises, yet they're demonstrating incredible resilience and taking charge with a locally led approach. How can their story, their proactivity, serve as a lesson, for other communities around the world facing similar climate challenges?
That's a great question. It really speaks to the power of local agency, doesn't it? Even when external support falls short.
It does. It shows that hope and action can emerge from the toughest circumstances, and that supporting those local efforts, even in small ways, can make a world of difference.